As we look back at the winter that was, it's safe to say it was a challenging season for motorists. Lots of small snow and ice storms coming day after day made for a slippery season on area roads. And what didn't make it any easier was a lack of road salt. And as we've learned, there may be one fairly new law you can blame for that. And yes, you paid for it. It's one thing you don't want a shortage of: road salt. It can help you avoid situations like this one here and here. But few people know that this year's New York State road salt shortage may very well have started here.
This is our first Transportation Committee meeting.
2 years ago, the New York State Legislature passed the Buy American Road Salt Act. It encouraged municipalities to accept salt bids from companies with American mines, even if those bids were up to 10% higher than bids from Canadian mines. So about half of New York's counties, 30 of them, went with a company called American Rock Salt. And it appears that company may not have been ready to handle that many counties. The result? Not enough salt to go around.
You can't just have one supplier for this, and that just caused a real burden for all of us.
I am standing right now in the salt shed at the Rensselaer County Highway Department. This shed usually is full all year long, full up to the rafters, but this year, not the case. They're struggling lately just to keep it half full.
We didn't have the 1 or 2 footer, but we had constant need for salt every day, every other day we were out there. So all of us at every level were depleted, and it made it very stressful and unnecessary for us to have to scramble around the way that our highway guys did.
One of those on the front lines and doing the scrambling, Rensselaer County Highway Superintendent David Anthony.
We were pretty full before the winter, and then we pretty much used everything we had in every shed we had.
And when the salt was used up, that meant the taxpayers across New York had to step in and pay up. We have obtained the emergency email sent out by the New York State Office of General Services to other suppliers, telling them how much salt was needed by each county and asking for quotes. In this email, dated January 30th, OGS includes a chart of counties it says are directly impacted by the inability of the current contractor to supply product. OGS is asking about the availability of a whopping 303,000 tons of salt for emergency purchase. In this email, dated February 19th, OGS writes to one specific company, saying the state is looking for 96,000 tons of salt, or 2,700 truckloads. This was Governor Kathy Hochul in February.
I know that the State Office of General Services is helping people right now as we speak be able to access what they need to keep the roads safe. That's our top priority, safety on our roads.
The Buy American Road Salt Act breezed through the State Assembly and Senate with an overwhelming bipartisan vote in both houses. You can see almost all yays on the roll call vote. One of the few people who voted against it was North Country Senator Dan Steck.
Well, I wish I could say that I was clairvoyant enough a couple years ago to know that today we were going to be having a road salt shortage. A couple years ago, I'm thinking that the concern is the availability of salt and the price of salt.
American Rock Salt says in a statement that reads in part, "We realize some municipalities are concerned about supply, and we understand the frustration associated with this very difficult winter stressing our supply chain." Now, I can tell you, OGS got back to me just a few hours ago. They said 60,000 tons of emergency salt was procured by the state. They would not put a price tag on that salt, but I did the math for you. In a non-emergency situation, that would be about $3.6 million worth of salt. So you can figure the price tag was much higher than that. And there is now an Assembly bill being considered, which in essence says bids from American and Canadian mines should be treated equally.